Is doing today.
Yes, that's. Oh, that's right. Yeah, right. Sure, yeah.
Curiosity. Do you live
Of the Blue Ribbon Commission, and I'm delighted to introduce Lieutenant Governor of the State of California, Gavin Newsom.
Thank you, everybody. I'm grateful you took the time to be here. I'm grateful for those that have been following these forums and have been to many of our public discussions over the last few months. Just a bit of background. This process began in October of 2013. The ACLU decided to convene a conversation around the issue of the prospect of cannabis legalization in the state of California, solicited a group of 21 people, not of like mind, 21 people that had very disparate points of view. Some that are vehemently opposed to any consideration of legalization of cannabis or marijuana, some that feel that it's long overdue, some that suggested, well, don't we de facto have legalization with an unregulated medical market anyway? Shouldn't we just get our arms around that? Others with more prescriptive concerns and considerations, those that voiced for young children that are concerned about brain development, others that had particular concerns around the proliferation, the prospect of proliferation of advertising targeting our youth, others that said my voice is around making sure big tobacco doesn't become big marijuana, others around land use, some that shared that. Others land use and said, you have no clue the concerns because I'm from Humboldt County and Humboldt needs a voice, Trinity, Mendocino. So we began the process to convene that group formally. And we solicited thoughts and advice and counsel not only from the 21 members that provided their own background and information, but we also began to source information from many of you, and I mean that literally. I see a number of you that have provided us in this work group with some research of your own, research that's been done by your organizations and the like. And then we began the public phase about 2 months ago. And that public phase was around 3 key areas of consideration and focus. We began in Los Angeles at UCLA around public safety concerns. We had the incoming police chief chair, Police Chiefs Association, who participated in a panel not dissimilar to this, focusing disproportionately that day on driving under the influence and the concerns that people have that there is no readily available mechanism to which we can assess someone driving under the influence of cannabis. There were public safety concerns expressed there that went back to focus on concerns around youth, concerns around our communities, land use concerns as relates to the changing the face and quality of life in neighborhoods if we allow for the legalization and the like. So those were expressed in that first forum. The second forum was around specifically children, youth, and family education. That was in Oakland. And that was a well-attended event. A lot of folks concerned about edibles, concerned about folks out there targeting our kids with jelly bean edibles, targeting our youth with gummy bears and lollipops and candies, and expressed concern of what's happened in Colorado and elsewhere, and they don't want to see that replicated here in California. They're concerned about what the message this was sending. If we legalize, what message does it send to our youth? That it's somehow okay. Others expressed the fact that it was easier for the kids that they service in the community to get marijuana or cannabis than it was alcohol, and that we have to deal with the reality. Someone even made the point that they've never met a drug dealer that has ever asked for a child's ID, and that's the world we're living in. Let us deal with that reality in a thoughtful and judicious way. It was I thought it was a very constructive hearing. A lot of folks had very different points of view. The third was more informal. That became quite an, I thought, enjoyable hearing. It was last week in Garberville, in that what we call Emerald Triangle of California that produces a disproportionate amount of cannabis, not only for this state but for our nation. It was well attended. You can rest assured it was a very participatory hearing, and a lot of folks concerned about what's going on with the cartels on public lands and trespass grows in and around Trinity and Mendocino and the Humboldt area. The sheriff was there, very concerned about what legalization would mean to his work, his deputy sheriffs, and a lot of farmers there, third generation cannabis farmers that corrected me quickly by saying if we hear the word marijuana, we're going to remove you from this hearing. Marijuana is that's connotations around the war on drugs. This is about cannabis and culture and history. So I'll use the words interchangeably. Forgive me, I'm learning. But these farmers, are very concerned about what happens to them. They're concerned that folks are going to come in and destroy quality of life in Mendocino, Humboldt, Trinity, and the 6 counties on the North Coast. And they're going to come in and buy up land, and they're going to change the land use up there. They're concerned that the persuasion industry, as it was referred to, the lobbyists are going to be hired. And they're going to write the rules in Sacramento, and they're going to write out the small neighborhood farmer. They're going to write out the ability for local land use decisions to be made by local representatives, by county supervisors, and planning commissions. They're worried about the cartels continuing to proliferate, particularly if we tax marijuana at a level that still allows for a black market to perpetuate itself. They're concerned that without interstate commerce changes, and if we're an export state, there's no way you're going to get rid of the cartels. Let's not overpromise that legalization somehow will eliminate the black market. And others were up there saying, well, we've been working in the gray area as it relates to medical. What happens to the medical community? Washington State just disbanded their medical side, and basically combined it with their recreational side because a lot of folks were continuing to use the medical even though they didn't necessarily have any medical needs because they weren't taxing at the rate that recreational drugs were being taxed. What happens in California with the most comprehensive medical system in the country, longest serving medical system in the country? We tax recreational 25%, don't tax medical because we don't want to tax sick people. How do we address that? How do we address all of these concerns? Sorry to be long-winded. I'm just giving you a sense of this conversation. It's a long-winded introduction to my reason for being here. And that is, this is complicated. And good people can disagree. And what I'm hoping happens today is what's happened in these last 3 forums is that we're not disagreeable in those disagreements. And I want you to know that most of the folks that are part of this are not ideologues. They're open argument, interested in evidence. I am not an ideologist. I've got 3 young kids. And I'm as concerned about all those things that folks have expressed to us as any of you are. And I don't want to see big tobacco move in, and I don't want to see neighborhoods destroyed, and I don't want to see the Starbuckification of this industry any more than you want to see it. But I also recognize the world I'm living in, and I recognize the status quo. And I'm of the opinion the status quo is not working. I'm of the opinion we can't continue to do what we've done in this country as it relates to our efforts to address and criminalize marijuana or cannabis. And so I'm here to learn, I'm here to listen, but I'm also here in an effort to try to lead a conversation that will inform and will close. 3 stakeholders. Not only the public by a production of a final report from this work group, but also the folks that are out there putting together an initiative. The likelihood of an initiative going on the ballot is between 99 and 100%. Still a chance, but it's most likely going to end up on the ballot. I want to make sure it's the right initiative. I want to make sure that we're doing this work in advance. You, all of you as Californians know this. We have a habit, it's habitual, it's sort of in our DNA, to pass initiatives and then wake up the next day and say, what the hell did we just pass? On this issue, I would like us to do the work in advance. I'd like us to inform the process before we allow the voters the opportunity to make their decision.